Yeah. You don't want to miss an episode. You just don't want to miss an episode because we are talking about things that directly affect our community. While we're waiting for that, I want to ask you, Marlo, do you have children?
Yes, I do. I actually have my son is, he'll be 27 this year. I had to do the math. But yeah, I have a son. I didn't do the math right, y'all. He'll be 29 this year.
Girl, you forget after a while. Mine's 37, so I always have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
And I was very intentional about not coddling him, even though his dad said that I did, because our parenting methods were very different. But my ex was coddled. So I understood, especially from the perspective of a woman, what makes a good partner. There were certain things that I wanted my son to do. I wanted him to travel. I wanted him to work and find a career. All the things that I want for my daughter, I wanted for my son, and mostly for him to be a man and walking through this world as a Black man, being armed with preparation and knowledge of self. All of that's very important. So this video is very interesting to me.
Yeah,
this is
right.
after my own heart, and I can't wait for our company today to see it and get everybody's opinion, because it's wild to me. I don't relate at all.
Okay. What about you, Lindsay? Are you a mother? How many children do you have?
I am. I have two, a 14-year-old boy and an 11-year-old girl. So I'm like Marlo. I find that balance between nurturing and making sure that he knows how to be prepared for the world that's ahead of him as a Black man. And I also like to think about, okay, what would I want in my child's significant other, both for my daughter and for my son? So I try to find that balance between, raising them to be people that I would be proud of, that they can be proud of, and that their future children and future significant others would also be proud of.
I agree with that totally. How about you, Athena? Do you have children?
I do not have children, but I am the only girl in a family of, I have 4 brothers. So this topic is going to be very interesting because I'm just going to basically play from the perspective of being the only girl with 4 brothers and also dating men.
But I think that's a very good perspective. So now that we've answered that question, let's go ahead and watch this video so that we can get into this deep chat. And be ready. Here we go.
When we told her at one point Garcia's Apple Watch was pinging from inside of her house, this happened.
That was coming from your house.
Stop! I told you, if you don't want to go to jail with me.
She yanks the ID right off my neck and then claims that I hit her.
Yes, put me in the camera. Put me in the camera. Put me in the camera.
Police looked at the video.
That's the proof you come to slap me.
They got me my ID back and no charges were filed. Days later, Junior Bazile was in court for a status on that grand theft charge.
I think we have a right to ask you. You're stealing passengers' luggage?
Go away, sir.
Nothing to say to the lady whose stuff you took?
Woo, that was a little hard for me, ladies. It was a little hard for me. Now, before I ask you a question, I want to give you a little bit of back note on this. He was arrested and charged with grand theft since the value of the goods that he stole was over $750. And he faces up to 30 years in prison plus a large fine. All right, Marlo, I want to hear everybody's opinion on this video. So I'm starting with you. Marlo, what are your thoughts on this video?
Ain't no way. I totally disagree with parents that uphold any amount of BS from their kids, right? I am the accountability police for building their morale. Their morale is not in the words of the Bible. That's a great guide, but I am the person that is there teaching them right from wrong, explaining to them why something is wrong. So, sir, you did what you did. The people found what they found, and you have to pay the piper. And prison is a horrible place. The United States Justice system is not a friendly place for Black men. But Black men that do the crime need to go on and do the time. And mama holding and cussing this man out and being misplaced energy. Energy totally misplaced. No, ma'am. No, thank you.
What is interesting is there's only one person on our chat, and the thing was, oh my God, the OMG! Like I could just feel the cringing of that right now. We want to hear your thoughts about this video, and are we raising mama's boys? Are we letting them get away with things that they shouldn't be getting away from? Lindsay, what are your thoughts about this video?
My first thought whenever I was watching the video was mental illness, because why are you acting like that? Just how she responded, her erratic behavior, and then seeing how the son responded when the reporter walked up to him. It is so much undiagnosed mental illness going around. And it was funny because as I was looking at the comments on the video, I noticed a lot of people saying that this is how all Caribbean mothers are. And I was like, oh, is it? I hope not, because it is not okay. And my children know, like, listen, you do the crime, you do the time. I'm going to support you and stick by you, but I'm also going to let you know that what you did was wrong. So don't come expecting me to be like, oh, my son, my daughter. Like, no, like, why would you think that it's okay to do that? Because I raised you better than that. And if that's the choice that you made to do something stupid, I'm not supporting that, but I'm going to always love you.
That part, that's very important. And I will touch on that too, because it's going to bring this full circle. Athena, now you have a different perspective because you were raised in the house with brothers, and in your household, would this behavior be accepted, or was you treated a little differently than your brothers?
All right, so this behavior would not have been accepted by me or my brothers, because I grew up in a very strict Jamaican household. And in Jamaica, we had a saying that goes, who don't hear must feel. And our parents were definitely into us feeling the consequences of our actions. So that behavior would never have flown. But I do think that there is something to defending the boys in particular that parents do have, and we can explore that even further. But I think that when men are not doing well, it does something to the parents that it doesn't necessarily do for the girl children. Like, I think girls are given responsibility in certain things earlier on in the gate, versus with men, it tends to happen later, but it might be too late by the time it happens, if that makes sense.
It totally makes sense. And I think it all depends on the situation. Hey, if you guys are just now joining us, you are watching Fly Nubian Money. We are here every day, Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you don't want to miss us and you want to check us out every day because we got hot topics, you want to make sure that you text the word Queens, Queens, to 87948. And guys, guess what else? We are on Spotify. So all you have to do is go to Spotify and look up Fly Nubian Money, and you will catch us there too. And we are excited to hear your comments about our topic today, which is, are we raising our boys to be soft? Are we excusing their bad behavior? Now, I am a mother. My son is 37 years old. And he's, for the most part, has been a good kid. But he also understood, because I laid down the law early, I will always love you no matter whatever you do. But I will never excuse bad behavior. So while I may support you, it doesn't mean that I always accept the fact if you do something wrong, you're going to pay for it. I will be the one to march your butt right down to the police officer if I have to. That's the way I was raised. If it was something that bad, or it was the same thing, if you stole something, you march that child right in there, whether it's girl or boy, and you make them account for what they've done. But there was a really good comment on our YouTube channel, and it is, as a Black man raised by two parents, I do believe many Black women are raising their sons not to be mature men. That is a very interesting comment. And Lindsay, I'd like to hear your take on that. Do you, as a coach, because you do coach, do you see things in your sessions with families?
So I actually coach around leadership and development, but whenever I had my time in therapy, I saw it around actually a lot of mothers in general, not just Black mothers, where oftentimes the boy was allowed to do whatever, or the girls were like, okay, well, help your siblings with their homework, or help clean up, or help cook, and things like that. So there was definitely that balance between all of the cultures where the mother kind of coddled the son and expected the daughter to do all of the household things. So it's not just us Black women.
No, but that brings up a good stat. And I want to share this stat with you before I throw a question to you, Marlo. So I'm going to change it just a little bit. I know we talk about our communities, but we need to see this as a whole as well. So in 2023, there were about 15.09 million children living with a single mother in the United States. And there were about 3.05 million children live with a single father. Now, of that, I was able to pull out more stats for 2022. Of those numbers, it was 4.15 million Black families that are single family households. Marlo, do you feel that this is in line with what you also see in media? Because it seems like the big shows always seems to have the guys being so macho, but still yet can go home to mama. So what are your thoughts on that, on how it's being portrayed?
I think that a lot of, especially films, we're seeing it through the lens of a man, right? So we think about John Singleton's films, we think about Baby Boy or Boys in the Hood, right? You had the single father, but then you also had the single mother, and she had one son that was good and one son that couldn't stay out of trouble, and then he was the long arm of the law, Furious Styles, right? He kept his son in check. Even if we look at films like I can't think of one of the mafia movies, right, where Joe Pesci's a gangster, right, and he goes home and his mom's like, he wants some meatballs. Like, I think a lot of it is we are seeing an accurate depiction of the way that men view their mothers and their relationships with their mothers. I think it is a pretty accurate. It's probably pretty accurate, yeah.
So it's the question of, is art portraying life or is life portraying art a lot of the times? I'm loving the chats that we are getting, and I would love to hear if this is something that would be acceptable in your household. Have you experienced this with your children? And we just threw up a great slide, but I want to call it back up, because this is tied into something that is pretty current right now. According to the Daily Mail, the only woman standing behind him, P. Diddy, as under fire, Sean Diddy Combs, whichever he's calling himself this week, is staunchly supported by loyal mother Janice amid the federal sex trafficking probe. A look at the former model's life and relationship with her son. So they dug a little bit deeper into their relationship. I do know that she did come out on Instagram and said that she felt for Cassie, but it also threw her back into her own trauma. And I thought to myself, that's not the time, lady, to throw up your trauma. But this goes to show to me that she's still behind him and supporting him in a way. But how do you think that this is a conflict for her? Athena, do you think that, I mean, you're single, Sean is single, he was dating women. This is not the first time that he's done this, according to them. Do you feel like you've dated men that are in this type of situation where they're mama's boys?
Oh my God, that's like a big thing in the dating pool right now. Like, dating is like a cesspool. So if anybody in relationships, stay in the relationship, work it out. But what I will say is, yes, I've seen a lot of scenarios where, as I'm getting to know certain men, that I would categorize their relationships with their mothers as like emotional incest. So for those of you who don't know what emotional incest is, according to the American Psychological Association, emotional incest is a form of emotional abuse. And it happens when a parent or caregiver uses a child for the emotional needs that should be attaining from their adult romantic partner. And 5 signs of those of emotional incest is relying on the child for support, putting their needs before the child, invading the child's privacy, using the child like a love life partner, and feeling jealous of the child's relationships. Okay. So that is something that is very common in dating. Like you're prioritizing your mother like she's the woman in your life. And I think that even with the video clip that we just saw, when you are that passionate about your son to the point where you are going out of your way now to do certain things, I would categorize that as emotional incest relationship. And like, I think Marlo mentioned it, that Think Like a Man movie, when that one girl was dating the guy and the mama was always in the way, that's an issue. Now, for me personally, I avoid men like that because I was like, I ain't got the time and I don't want to deal with your crazy mom. But, you know, to each their own. But it's good to see that a man actually cares for his mom. That's something that I also look for as well. But there is a line.
Agree. I don't know why my computer wants to keep muting me. We have some great comments, guys, that I want to address. Pretty Richie says, Mama's boys can be very valuable in relationships. This is a different perspective, especially if that man values their mother. Usually a man treats his wife the same manner he cherishes their mom. I think that's a very interesting take, because a lot of the times I do hear women say, look at how he treats his sisters. Look at how he treats his mother. He will treat me the same way. But I think it's a very fine line where you're being such a mama's boy where you're ignoring the relationship that you currently have. And when a mother can overstep into that relationship, I have actually seen divorces because the mother has stepped in so much and the husband listens to the mother more than he honors his wife in those vows. Lindsay, I would love to hear your take on this.
Yeah, I noticed that comment as well. And there's definitely a fine line between valuing your mother and your sisters or any female relationships that you may have in your life, and then cherishing them and worshiping them. It's called boundaries that we have to think about. What are the boundaries that you have with your mother and or your sisters? Because that's going to make the difference between I treat women with respect, I value their opinion, I value my relationship, and I carry that over into my relationship with my significant other. And I allow them to overstep their boundaries. I allow them to know all of my business, all of my problems. I'm going to them for support instead of going to my significant other for support. Like, there's no reason if we're having an issue that you should be going to your mom first every single time we're having an issue, because that issue is between you and I. So there's a fine line between valuing the relationship and actually being a mama's boy. Because most women, they say, we don't like mama's boys. Yes, we like when you respect your mother, but not a mama's boys. And it's the boundaries that's going to make the difference between the one or the other.
I think that's a great analogy. If you are just tuning in, you are watching Fly Nubian Money. We come on every day, Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am joined by some awesome queens, Athena, Lindsay, and Marlo. And today we're talking about, are we turning our boys into mama's boys? Are we overlooking their bad behavior? But you don't want to miss an episode. So you always want to make sure that you find out when we're on, where we're on. So text the word Queens to 87948 and you will get notification of when we go live. But we are also on Spotify. So please make sure that you go and subscribe, leave us a 5-star comment. We love all the conversation here. But if you also want to get your money right, because that's what we do here, That's what we do here. We help you with money as well. We talk about financial things. You want to make sure that you join us at flynubianqueen.com, where you'll get free financial resources, courses, and more. So, all right, we get ready to get back into this conversation. I want to know, Marlo, you have a son. So, in your opinion, when you were raising him, did you raise your daughters in a different manner than you did your son, or was it equal? We do know that it's important for men to be in boys' lives, but it also is important for women too. So let me get this statistical thing up first, and then we'll talk about that. Historical race and gender ideologies reinforce differences how Black boys and girls are parented. So this ties into my question to you. A theme from the original study data emerged around the reoccurring notion that in many Black families, Black girls are raised and Black boys are coddled during childhood and young adulthood. Did you find yourself doing this as a mother in your household?
I did not. My son definitely was imparted with a lot of responsibility because I intentionally did not want to raise a mama's boy, right? He is, all forever my baby, right? But in terms of him going out into the world, it was much more important to me that he was a good partner, that he was a sound provider, all the things that we define man by, right? He goes out, he's a hunter-gatherer in all the ways. And I think that to me was more important because I did marry somebody who leaned a lot on his mother for adulting support, right? Who always needed a push, a little shove, a little extra motivation. And so in seeing those qualities, I just was trying to do something different. But I think that it's important for you to not do the double standard when you have, I have a boy and a girl there. Well, I have two girls and a boy. The oldest two are 6 years apart. And so she was going to see him in his teenage years. So I was trying to set boundaries because I don't want you out all night thinking it's cool because you saw your brother do that, right? And now I got to turn to you as a woman and say, you can't do it because you're a girl and he's a boy. Like, that's crazy to me. And I was raised like that, right? My brother could do things at 17. When I became 17, I couldn't do those same things, right? My expectation was a little bit different, not super, it wasn't a whole lot of difference, but there was some difference between the way that my brother and I were raised within the same household. So I definitely didn't want to do that. So I did my best. I did my best to make sure.
But I think that's all we can do is our best. I mean, we do our best, and then in hindsight, sometimes you may go back and go, well, maybe I should have done that a little differently. But you do the best in the time, right? All right, Athena, I'm going to throw that question to you because how are you seeing that in the dating world with the coddling?
Oh my God, not just even dating world, because I do feel like growing up, I was raised, my brothers got coddled. Like I definitely felt that. I've definitely expressed that to my parents, and even while they try to deny it, they have come to terms with the realities of that. Now, how that translates into dating, so a big issue I feel for me, because I feel like I'm also like an old soul. So I feel like I'm very mature for my age. So already it's like most men, I feel my dating bracket are not mature enough. And I feel like there's a sense of delayed adolescence. Like I don't really entertain certain type of men, but a lot of men are living at home. Roommate situation, barely, they might be good at their job and perform at their job, but their home life is very like in shambles, like house not cleaned, just basic like life skills. Definitely as far as like not wanting to be accountable for things. That's a big issue I've seen as well. Just stepping into full maturity of manhood. Very hesitant to take on responsibilities at all, for like what I would think for themselves. Like I know men who are still like on their parents' like insurance and like, you know, just full on manhood. Like you're ready to take on the responsibility of a wife and a family. I think that's very lacking.
I agree. And our chat, our chat has really got some really good comments, ladies, and I want to bring them up. Danette said, I'm a baby boomer, and the boys are definitely different than the boys I grew up with. More men were in the home during my era and in the village, so that made a difference. I think that is a very important thing. And we're seeing, we talked about single mothers. But I also talk about how I was raised in a village where, you know, I saw us all being corrected. It didn't matter if you were a girl or boy. If you did something down the street, baby, you was going to get a spanking all the way down the street until you got home. So I do believe it is an important part is to be raised by that village. Also, I love what Charmaine said. It's natural for a mother to defend her child. We always run in defense for our children, but something like this, meaning the video that we are referring to today, is he has to be responsible for his action unless mom has the similar behavior. Did we not see her lose herself, snatching and hollering and screaming? So I would love to roll that video again, because I think we need to get back to the context of what this video is about and how this mother's reaction to her son stealing something could possibly lead into his behavior currently. So let's make sure that we get back to that. And I do have some more questions about that, because I have a very important question for you after that. So the video is being queued. Be ready, because it's kind of hard for me to watch, because I know that it's a tough one for some, but some mothers I know have acted this way with their sons as well. So while we're doing that, keep the comments coming. I am loving what you have to say. Make sure that you follow us, like, share, comment. Check us out on Spotify. Don't forget to subscribe. All the good things that we love in social media, we would love for you to do, because we love your comments and we love being able to talk to you. So while we're waiting for that to come up, Tiffany said, my great grandmother told her son and passed it down through the family, if you end up in jail, I'm not bailing you out. I think that directly ties to the video, because this gentleman is going to jail for what he's done. So, I mean, it's very interesting. Now, were you raised that, Lindsay? Were you told that? Were you told that when you were growing up, if you got in trouble, they wasn't coming to bail you out?
Well, I was a good kid, so my mama didn't have to tell me that. I didn't want no whoopings. You could tell me twice, and I got it. Like, not even twice, just once was enough. And I learned from other people's mistakes. Oh, that's what happens to you? Oh, nope. Straight A's, let me mind my business. Let me do what I'm told. So she didn't have to worry about me.
Lindsay, I only had one spanking in my life. And that was it. Because that's all I needed. So yeah, I'm with you. Okay, video's ready, y'all. Get ready. Hold on to your seats.
When we told her at one point Garcia's Apple Watch was pinging from inside of her house, this happened.
That was coming from your house.
Stop! I told you, if you don't want to go to jail with me.
She yanks the ID right off my neck and then claims that I hit her.
Yes, yes. Put me in the camera. Put me in the camera. Put me in the camera.
Police looked at the video.
That's the proof you come to slap me.
They got me my ID back and no charges were filed.
Can you stop?
Days later, Junior Bazile was in court for a status on that grand theft charge.
I think we have a right to ask you. You're stealing passengers' luggage?
Go away, sir.
Nothing to say to the lady whose stuff you took?
Ouch. I think that in that household, she may be an issue as well. All right, so I'm going to throw this question out there. I'm going to start with you, Marlo. What do you define as a mama's boy?
I think a mama's boy is always looking to mama for the last word, right? He in everything in his life, he needs her approval. He wants her kind of to hold his hand through everything. Like we see the definition, lacks self-reliance and is overly dependent on his mother. This is a man who is not making too many decisions on his own. And I don't mean just like, hey, I got this going on, I'm kind of leaning toward this, but I want to run it by you to see. No, this is, what should I do? And leaving it to mama to decide that. Or maybe she's real super pushy mama and she just getting right on in there and giving her opinion whether he's asking for it or not, and the expectation from her is that whatever I say goes because I'm mama, right? So I think that there's a double dynamic. There is the man that kind of takes care of his mom and you know, he's gonna make sure she's good. Maybe he pays a few bills or he throws her a few dollars. But then there's the man who is in a weird symbiotic relationship with mama, right? He will not unlatch. He is latched for life. And with that man comes this lack of responsibility, this lack of accountability, because she's always going to be there to step in front of him and explain what he had meant was, or what he had wanted to do, or this is why he is who he is. She is kind of like his mouthpiece, right? So I think that there's two, and I think the two types of men get lumped together, but for sure, the one that you want to avoid is the man that's always consulting with mama, and mama is a big part of his decision-making process. I don't think that is a worthy mate. I think he's a worthy mate for his mama.
I think I'm gonna make the worthy way for his mama. Okay, that's a good one. Athena, what do you consider a mama's boy?
Exactly what the definition said. Someone that is overly reliant on his mom for decision making, prioritizes his mom to the point where it sabotages his relationships. Someone who is looking for his woman to be a mother figure to him, overly so. I think that's also a big issue, because I know a lot of the girls are saying that they're not trying to be a man's mother. Especially, and this was also interesting too, because I recently had a conversation about this topic, but the expectation that a lot of men just look at women as like, you know, a relationship with a woman as a woman's gonna just cook, clean, and do all this like servitude basically, and not really a partnership. So a lot of mama's boys tend to have that as well. And I want to also reiterate this, because I know people are going to be upset, but there's nothing wrong with taking care of your mother. It becomes a problem when it impacts you having a healthy and productive relationship with a woman.
I think that's important for us to know. You can respect your mother. You can always be your mother's child, but you also need to understand that when you're in a relationship, that is not your mother. That is two different households and two different dynamics. And I think that's where a lot of the gray line comes in. Lindsay, to you, what do you consider a mama's boy?
Well, I think these lovely ladies beside me have answered it perfectly, and I don't have any more to add to that. But I do want to make sure that we understand that keyword is boundaries today. That's what makes the difference between a mama's boy and somebody who respects the women in his life. But in looking at some characteristics of a mama's boy, it can go in either direction, where one, they become narcissists, or they have this grandiose image about themselves where I'm always right, I'm superior, I can do no wrong. And that is where we don't want people to be, because that's where we end up like the guy in the video, getting into trouble and not taking accountability for his actions. But on the other end, it could also go in a different direction, where they lack resilience, they have low self-esteem, they become a pushover because they don't know how to problem solve, they don't know how to speak up for themselves, because their mom is always solving all of their problems, always talking to them or talking for them. And they don't develop those skills that they need as an adult and that they need to have a healthy relationship moving forward. So there are a lot of different things that go into being a mama's boy, having emotional regulation issues. They don't know how to handle their emotions, so many different things, sense of entitlement. And so we have to make sure that we are having those healthy boundaries so that we aren't creating mama's boys if you are raising a son.
Agree. Now we talk about financial things here. This is what our focus on. So I do want to talk about some of the financial ramifications of this. I found this very interesting. The cost. Are mothers too quick to excuse their son's behavior? Okay, that's what our topic is. But buying food to paying for a cell phone plan or covering health and auto insurance, nearly half, or 47% of parents with a child older than 18 provide them with at least some financial support, according to a report by savings.com. These parents are shelling out $1,384 a month on average. And that's what this report talks about. Now, I find this very interesting that they chose the age of 18, because honestly, we say that that's when, you're an adult, but usually when you're an adult, you have a full-time job. This 18 usually says that you just got out of high school, you're getting ready to go to college. But in the fact of the things, I do know some mothers that are paying their sons bills and they're in their 30s. And I'm just really interested in knowing, is that something that you would do for your child? Marlo, is that something that you would do after a certain age, or are we coddling them also financially?
I could not wait until my dog she wants to go outside. I could not wait until he got of age and could pay his own cell phone bill. I could not wait to hand over certain responsibilities to him and to his sister, just to welcome them into adulthood, to have them be responsible for something, to have them to understand the value of things, right? So I think I was not spending $1,300 a month supplementally for a person who was in college and also working, because that's also part of managing your expenses, right? Oh, you can't contribute to the family phone plan. Okay, well, there are other plans that have a fixed amount and a fixed rate, and you still get good coverage. So you need to look into that. And I think there's nothing wrong with cutting the cord with our kids. There's nothing wrong with releasing them into adulthood. The worst thing that's going to happen is that they're going to learn a lesson, and they're going to get some type of valuable information from that experience. So I think, no, I'm not supplementing a lifestyle. You got to know how much things cost. You got to prioritize what's important to you, right? You got to play Xbox Live, or you need to have a cell phone so that you can do what you got to do. Life is about decisions. And I think that there's nothing wrong with you introducing your child to responsibility and sound decision making is in terms of financial growth and understanding. I think that is it worked for me. I would say it worked for me, putting them out there with baby steps and giving them small responsibilities. I think it's nothing wrong with that, and I think that parents should do it as soon as possible. That's what I recommend. You get them that financial experience as soon as possible, so that they understand what the real world is like.
I agree. In my household, we had allowances. Once that allowance was gone, it was gone. You didn't ask for any more. You could earn more if you wanted to earn more, but you still were responsible early. And that's what taught me. And I did the same thing with my son, about financial responsibility. Listen, if you're just joining in, you are watching Fly Nubian Money, and we help you to raise your mindset and we maximize your money. Today, we're talking about a really hot topic. Are we raising our sons to be mama's boys, or are we supporting them in their bad behavior? And if you would love to continue to follow us, you can text the word Queens, QUEENS, to 87948. And you'll be notified of when we go live. We go live every day, Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And guess what else? We are on Spotify. So you want to make sure that you go and look up our name, Fly Nubian Money, so that you can listen to us and take us with you everywhere you go. And since we are talking about money, we want you to make sure that you visit our website, flynubianmoney.com, and you'll receive financial resources, courses, and more. And you'll be able to share them with your sons and maybe get some ideas about sharing those with their daughter as well. We have some really great comments, and I want to address some of them. Sandra T said, if my son got into financial jam, I helped, but otherwise you work, manage your money. I will not be a constant helper with finances. I think that's how I pretty much raised my son too. He knew that if he needed something very big, we would work something out with him, but he, for the most part, was responsible for his own bills. Second choice said, I come from a married household. I have a twin sister and a younger sister. My father was the discipliner, basically the law and order, and my mother was the nurturing one of the family, and children need that back. I actually think that that is also a part of what I say in the village. In some cases, if you're a single parent, make sure that you surround yourself by a really good village that boys and girls can be in that village and taught the right thing to do. I do want to ask you, Athena, since we're dealing with money, is there something that you have seen in your business that you can do to help your children, girls and boys, to teach them early enough to manage their money so that, you know, you don't always have to go back to mama and daddy for anything that you need in the future? And I'm talking after 21. I'm just going to say after 21, guys. 18, I still think that's a little too early in the mindset when you're just getting out of school. Not that you can't teach them early.
Well, I would say this, start as soon as possible. I think the mistake parents make is like, oh, when they're in teenage years, that's when I'll start putting the hammer down. No, you need to train up a child. A lot of what that child will achieve in life, a lot of that is programmed by age 8, psychologists say, therapists say, age 8. So you want to start to get them on the track. So open up custodial IRA accounts, college 529 accounts, have them as authorized signers on your credit card, build up their credit score, and talk to them about these things. Let them see you budgeting. Let them see you investing. You put their allowance on like a prepaid card so they can get used, or authorized credit card so they can get used to having to make payments and balance that way. When it comes to children that are 18 and older, a lot of them are going to be in that college transitional stage or in a trade or some form of school. At that point in time, you can still provide support, but also that is kind of like what I would say the training grounds. Like, you want to make sure that whatever money they're getting from student aid or wherever else, that they have some kind of fiscal responsibility around that, because then they're going to make mistakes once they leave a coop. After college age, so when they graduate or they start getting to their first career, I would say that's the time you definitely need to pull back as a parent if you haven't done that already. When I graduated college, I moved, started my first job, paid my apartment, all that in Atlanta by myself. My parents didn't cut me a check for that. So I think, especially when it comes to men, they definitely need to be cut off, because I see in a lot of situations they won't move until the environment or situation forces them to.
I think that's a great comment. Lindsay, I touched a little bit on allowances. I'm curious to know, is that something that you do in your household?
Absolutely. They get an allowance, but they also have to do their chores. Oh, you had to be told to do your chores how many times? Okay, that's going to cut back on your allowance. And whenever you get your allowance, you need to put some away for savings, put some away for giving, and then you can do whatever you want with the rest. We actually just had a conversation about, okay, what are you guys doing with your money? And because they had a whole bunch of birthday parties, and it was like, I'm paying for a whole bunch of birthday parties for all these other kids. Like, what's happening? We need to review finances a little bit. I know my little nephew was here and was with us for about a week, and I pulled my son to the side and I was like, hey, let's look up what it costs to actually take care of a child. Let's look up formula if the mother's not breastfeeding. Let's look up diapers and just see, because, you know, he's starting high school now. So we got to make sure we cover all the bases. This is what you don't want. You see that free money you got over there that you're about to go spend on some junk food? This is what you would be spending it on if, you go in the wrong direction. So just taking the time to go through them, through the financials, through like, hey, look, this is what it costs to buy this many amount of groceries or this many household items for this week. And, you have to be willing to budget that. How much is eating out versus cooking at home and all of the different things. So just pulling them into the finances of your household really helps to make sure that they're understanding financial responsibility and getting in the habit, because, sometimes we get very taboo and not wanting to talk about our money and nope, you can't see, but that only does more harm in the long run, I think.
I think it does too. And I've always included my son. If we went to the grocery, we would look at that. We would look at prices. He also was a Boy Scout. They also went through finances there. So I think I think that I took that, and this is an interesting take. I think that I took that because most of the time finances were not discussed in my home. And I was told that, what goes on in this house stays in this house, and that includes finances. So I felt that I needed to break the cycle so that my son could understand that life costs money. Is that something that you take up in your household, Marlo?
Absolutely. With my younger children or with my older children, I say all three of my kids got a different version of me, right? My son, I was a young mom, so I was figuring it out for most of his life. My daughter, who's in the middle, she kind of got me on the trajectory of like figuring out my life. And my youngest daughter has me in the present, right? So she really is kind of like, more talk about finances, more talk about how things run, she has her bank account and her card, like Athena was saying. She's like, oh, I got Apple Pay or I got Apple Music. She's always complaining about Apple Music. I'm like, how can somebody without a job have a subscription service? Like, you need to manage your money when you get your deposits, when your dad gives you money, when I give you money. You need to do better with your money, because first of all, why are you subscribing monthly and you have no income, right? You're a beggar. You cannot be out here subscribing with monthly fees. So just being honest with her so that she has a realistic perspective, because I think we forget children in this day and age live with the internet, right? And the perception of stuff is just free. People just send you things in the mail. Oh, I could be an influencer and I don't have to work. Like, everything is under the veneer of false. And so I think parents have to definitely be ready, willing, and able to pull back the veneer and let their children know what reality is in this day and age, right? Celebrity was unattainable when my older children were younger, right? My youngest daughter, anybody and everybody can be a celebrity. So the perspective that people have because of social media, because of the accessibility to inside people's lives, right, to be able to get that peek. I think that the job of the parent now is about reality. It's about making sure that they're not clarnering their life away. They're not afterpaying their lives away, trying to keep up with everything that's going on. Why do you have $150 worth of product in your Shein cart? Let's look through this and make sure that you've made the most practical choices, because your budget is actually this. But you got to be honest with your kids. I think the time of kids being seen and not heard and in a corner and not getting into adult matters until they get to adulthood, I think that is setting your children up for failure in life, your sons and your daughters.
I agree. I love this comment that we have on the screen right now. Second choice says, yes, but I'm not perfect. He was answering someone else. I have had my bumps in the road, but my father taught me how to fall and get back up. And I think that ties right back in is, are we coddling our sons? It's okay to fall. It's okay to falter. It's okay to stumble. But are we going to go, oh, baby? It's like when a baby falls and they get up and they think, did I hurt myself? Well, if you immediately run to them and go, oh, baby, they immediately start crying, right? But if you let them think about the process, they may just think to themselves, yeah, I'm not hurt, and get up and move on. I actually think that this is a wonderful topic. Now, don't forget, ladies, we said that parents can be paying up to $1,300 a month assisting their children. And that's $1,384 out of their pockets to pay for their children's expenses after the age of 18. And so where are they putting that money? That money could be going toward their retirement. Donna says, I stopped buying gifts. I place the money in an account and they have a choice to put it on a CD or a stock through preferred CD. I absolutely love that idea. She's teaching responsibility of finances to her children and allowing them to choose where they want to put it. So they have to understand the process. I think that we have to be a little bit more active in our children. That goes back to me saying that in my life, we didn't talk about it. And so therefore I wanted to change that. Athena, is that something that you do? Oh, here's a good question for you, Athena. Do you help with children learning finances early? Because I know that they have courses. Is there something in your area where someone could go to help start teaching their children these financial principles early?
You know what? I actually used to do live workshops at the library and teach these things. And I always have plans, right? So in the future, I do plan on releasing like a financial literacy game, but that's in the future plans. What I really, most clients do right now as they're doing their financial planning with me, we do discuss that in the context of their children and what their children need to know when it comes to finances. And I think that that is so very much needed because look at the stats. Almost half of parents are still paying for the financial bills in some capacity with their children. So I think that, there needs to be more of a structure with that. And I also think that the school system needs to be, revised to include that. Now, I know that I live in a good state of Florida. Our governor is not the best, but however, what I do appreciate about him is that he put in a mandate to teach some finance education within high school within the state of Florida. And I think that needs to expand to all of the U.S. states and also not just high school, but before.
I agree, because when I grew up, we had home economics. And we kind of had to learn how to cook, not only just cook, we had to learn how to manage a budget. We had to learn to do all that. They took that all up out of the schools. And after that, people just went mad. They take all the things like, to me, that are life skills out of the school. Lindsay, I have a question for you. What are some actionable steps that parents can take to ensure that they are raising well-rounded and self-sufficient sons?
Definitely therapy. Going to therapy, because you can't teach them what you don't know. And one thing you want to do is model emotional regulation so that they know how to understand their emotions, how to process their emotions, how to creative problem solve whenever issues come into their life, because that's a part of life. You're going to come across obstacles. You're going to hit maybe a financial issue here or a relational issue here, and you can't always go back and depend on your parent or your mother. And so if you don't know how to do those things, then you might have to do some healing and working on yourself so that you can model it for your children. And then just allowing them to make their own mistakes. Don't always be so quick to rush in and correct or problem solve for them. Like even with my children, especially as they were younger, something would be going on, or I could watch them trying to figure something out. And I would literally sit back and watch them and wait. And if they came to me too soon, I say, nope, you got it. You can do it. Trust your abilities, trust yourself. And just watching them work it through was amazing to see. And it's actually doing more for them as they grow. They learn how to problem solve. And so essentially you're there to provide that guidance. That's what you'll want to do. And if you don't know what to do for yourself, that's where you pull in resources or ask the people around you to help provide that guidance. Because like we said earlier, it truly takes a village.
And that goes right into this awesome comment that we received from Tony Scott. We need to be accountable as a village. who they, them, whoever, we need to find our village, whether it's our church, whether it's our neighborhood, whether it's our extended family. My grandparents had 9 children. Most of them still lived in the same community. So that was my village. So I think that is very important for us to teach as well. I know that I teach real estate early. I go to high schools, guys. I go to high schools and I teach them how they can buy something in college, rent out one room, pay their rent, and still have some type of equity when they get out of school. There are many ways that they can do that. So, and believe it or not, most of the time, it's the young men that come to that class. Usually it's 2 or 3 girls, usually about 5 or 6 males. It's really interesting to see that stat. So if you're just now joining us, you are watching Fly Nubian Money. We are here Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We discuss some awesome topics around our communities and finances. You do not want to miss us. And if you're following us on YouTube, keep the comments coming. We love to hear everything that you're saying. But you can also be notified when we go live by texting Queens, QUEENS, to 87948, and you'll be notified. Also, you want to make sure that you take into account that you're instilling these things into your household. So if you want to get your money right, go to our website, flynubianqueen.com, and get our free financial resources and courses. Today, I'm actually joined by Athena, Lindsay, and Marlo, and we're discussing if we're coddling our boys a little too much. I want to get your final thoughts on this, but I also want to say one thing. When we coddle our boys, when we don't hold them accountable, they do not make good spouses for anyone else. And I have to say, shout out to my mother-in-law, because to me, she's my mother. She has always been very fair. My husband is a wonderful spouse, a wonderful partner, and she's never been takes sides to that. She's always been a good mother. So to me, she's raised a wonderful man and raised him to be a wonderful spouse. And so before we get our final thoughts, I want you to know that you can start your financial talking with your family. Make sure that you go to flynubianmoney.com so that you can get your free financial resources, because we have a lot to help you. And all you need to do is know the ABCs. If you don't know where to start, go to the website, get your first beginning. You can't reach the goal if you don't start at the starting line. So I would love to hear your final thoughts, Marlo, about this. I'm going to throw it to you first. And please let us know where we also can find you.
So in closing, I think that it's okay to let your kids go, right? It's not okay to have 6-year-olds be feral and do their own thing, but age-appropriate responsibilities are not going to break your son or your daughter, but it seems people understand that about the daughter, not so much about the son. So giving them responsibility, allowing them to make choices, talking to them about the decisions that they make when it's probably a better decision could have been made, always communicating, always talking to them, always reassuring them, not that they're perfect and great and amazing, but that they are doing the best that they could do in the moment. I mean, unless they're not, then you got to correct it. But take care of your kids, take care of your sons, but don't coddle them. Make them ready for the world. Make them tolerable in the workplace. Make them somebody that people are happy to come home to every day once they start venturing out into relationships, and make them a good, accountable citizen of the world to give things and not to just be taking my luggage when I'm flying. What is wrong with you, Junior? Brazil, whatever your name is. That's it. You can find me. I'm a journalist. I write community and legal or legislative pieces and feature pieces. I'm all over the internet by my name, Marlo Layson. Also, you can find me on Instagram. I am over Marlo. That is my first name backwards and forward _ and that's where you can find me.
Be sure to follow the Queen right now. Get your phones out. Make sure you follow all of us and make sure you follow us here. Keep the comments coming. Lindsay, what are your final thoughts and where can we find you?
Yes, my name is Lindsay Vertner, international mindset coach and speaker. You can find me at liveafirstclasslife.com. And my final thoughts are just remember, it is a fine line between coddling your children and actually raising them to be impactful, accountable, and effective adults. So as long as you are, giving them the opportunity to make mistakes, but letting them know like, hey, if you hurt yourself, I am here to help you put on that Band-Aid or heal your wound or whatever, but I am not going to solve all your problems. And knowing that they are their own person, and we have to understand that our job as parents is to raise children to be able to be an adult on their own, because we won't always be around. And so we got to make sure that we set them up for success mentally, emotionally, financially, physically, spiritually, in all the ways so that they can survive this thing called life.
Body, mind, and soul. You got to get them all in balance. How about you, Athena? What are your final thoughts and where can we find you?
My final thoughts is this, that we need to put men in position and hold them in an accountable way as we're raising them, as women who raise sons, that they become men who can actually be good, productive father and husbands. For those of you who are interested in finding me, you can find me at wewealthwomen.com. My name is Athena Gardner. I'm a CP and women's wealth coach, and I help women level up financially.
Thank you, Queens. I really appreciate all your comments. Guys, we really appreciate all of your comments too. It seems like our chat was really hot today. And I am Laura Lala Key. And my final thoughts is this. If you don't know where to start, then all you need to do is to open your mind to change things. Don't continue to be the cycle. Break the chain and start raising our children to be financially responsible, emotionally responsible, and just a good person in general. My motto for life is be the light. So be the light for our children, whether it's yours, find one in your community that needs a little bit of light. And if you see someone struggling, always give a helping hand. You can find me at bit.ly/Laura Key Info. Now, thank you, Queens. Thank you, audience. Thank you, watchers, for your insightful perspectives on this double standards in parenting and their impact on our sons. Remember, balancing parenting is the key to raising independent and responsible adults. For our listeners, if you're navigating these challenges, seek support and resources, and we've got that for you at flynubianmoney.com. So go on over there and download your resources. And don't forget to catch us on Spotify. But most of all, we want you to make that you tune in Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. And all you got to do is look for us at Fly Nubian Money. And you can catch us by texting Queens, QUEENS, to 87948. This was an excellent topic. By no means do we always get to touch everything, but at least we put something in your brain that can grow and thrive. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you, and we'll see you again next time. Thank you, ladies. Bye.